So obviously she's only gotten smarter. Irritated also for years. As some of you are aware, the conflict between both
yeah, I went through that.
On that note, she always saves the best in people.
Pretty much. As far as I can.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, left is the commentary, right is the it's not loud, but yeah. Yeah, they're definitely separated, yeah. Yes, no worries.
Despite his flavors, she has a strong sense of justice. I can find this film in a way of life. Yeah. The last thing to drink is right now. It's okay to drink as much as you use. The capitalism can be beneficial as well. They're not every culture bastard. And the Guardian none of these merchants
It's everywhere in football. And a fusion. How are you? Your boys doing all right? One last night? Sure. Good game? No, not really. Not really. Not really. Can't give away games in the last second like that. Poor defending. I missed the last game. The other team. Oh, missed it. They better get a win.
Season 2024 of NPLW Victoria arrives to the Veneto Club as two of last season's promoted sides get set for their sophomore campaign in the top flight of Victorian football. Boroondara Eagles playing host to FC Bulleen Lions here in the eastern suburbs. Two sides who are no strangers to one another. They've followed each other at every step of the journey through the state leagues, through VPL, of course, that grand final they contested back in 2022 now at this very venue. And here again for a second season of the top flight at the Ven. Although, as second seasons go, Boroondara will be hoping for more of the same in the new campaign. They finished second top in their debut year under head coach John Kyrgios. They fell a little short in the final stage, but it was a season that if they get a repeat effort this year, they will be more than pleased. For Preston Lions, it was not quite the lofty heights of second place on the NPLW table like Boroondara, but a solid debut showing nonetheless. They finished in 6th place, just 5 points off a finals position, bolstered by a handful of Liberty A-League signings in the back end of the season, not least recently minted Matilda Caitlin Torpy, who scored 9 goals for the side. But they've refreshed this year, rejuvenated, gone for a bit of a young approach. An average squad age this year of just 21.8, down a full 8 years, according to head coach Dan Foden. We'll be hoping that youthful exuberance can carry them towards the finals as both sides get underway here at the Veneto Club. It's Preston wearing the black jersey, attacking the right of screen, and Boroondara in the white. And there are a handful, well, I say a handful, a few handfuls of new faces for either side. Pleasure to have your company wherever you may be tuning in from on the NPL Victoria YouTube page. Lockie Flanagan flying solo here at the Veneto Club with you. But a host of new signings for both of these sides that we'll get to introduce you to today. Here is one in Zhao, who clips a nice ball into the box. It's Lamont. A clever little flick, but knocked away at the first time of asking by Neocopolis. This is Jade Feeks knocking it along with Molly Mae Ramsey. So 2 new signings for Preston Lions, combining on the right-hand side of what looks to be a back 4 for Dan Foden's side. Jade Feeks, a great example of just how young Dan Foden has gone with his squad recruitment this year. Just 26 years of age, Jade Feeks, who's most recently been playing in the state leagues with Geelong Rangers, is the oldest player in the entire squad. So that's a statement of intent and direction from Preston this season as they hope to jump a few places up the NPLW table. While for Boroondara, in their own right, it's, as I said, can't ask for much more than a second place finish in your first year in the top flight, but it was headlined by a 31-goal bow from Japanese star Korea Aquino, who of course has gone on to play and score for Melbourne Victory's A-League side. And so the key for John Kyrgios is how do we get those goals back into the team? And so there is a new look front three in the starting 11 today, as Preston with a bit of early possession. Losing out that time was Eva Harrington at fullback. She's nearly back to do her defensive coverage. She'll have a tough task today in one of those new forward signings, Anais Yosefsky, a man who will be very familiar to those who have spent a number of seasons watching NPLW Victoria. 4 years at Box Hill United, coming off an injury hit season, Yosefsky, but even if you just look at the pure numbers, a very solid one. Only the 12 appearances, but 6 goals, so 1 in every other game. John Kyrgios will certainly be hoping that she can deliver similar returns in the new side for season 2024, but Preston controlling things at the moment. It's Molly May Ramsey, a former Bayside United player, linking it up the line to Ellie Talevsky. This is nice interplay from Preston, and it's Zhao who has a couple of bites at the cherry but can't get away with possession, whisked away by new Puerto Rican central defender Imani Morlock. More on her later. There's a lot of new faces to fill you in on, as you can gather. Lamont stands it up for Haley Johnson, the American. Lovely threaded pass to find the captain, Henderson, who just stops and props and waits for a better option to materialise on the top of the box as Johnson winds up the shot, and an early sight of the first of the season. A few applauses springing up here and there throughout the grandstand, but still just tick past the opening 5 minutes here at the Veneto Club. Opening sequence of exchanges that Dan Foden will be pleased with. Talevsky twists and turns in midfield. It was Cicely Paraskevas, the former Alamein player, who applied the pressure on that occasion. Hey, Zhao just loses out that time to American Gabby Holler. Really interesting to see how both of these sides go, having bedded in, taken a year to get used to what the top flight has to offer. And that's a great pass threaded through by Lim for Yosefsky. An inviting cross sits at the back post for Murphy, but blocked that time by Jade Feeks, the experienced head, getting body in the right place to deny Murphy. Machine Murphy played just 8 minutes of senior football for Boroondara last year, but she's a couple of minutes away from eclipsing that in the opening game of the season. Morlock has kept running here, played inside for Holler, who just couldn't buy a yard. Another strong challenge from Jade Feeks, who's having a solid debut. It just kicked into touch and is down on the turf. He is one of a handful of signings this season for Dan Foden from the FV Emerging Program, Ellie Vlamink. Last 4 years in the NTC for Ellie Vlamink, and she's joined the likes of Charlotte Horrison and a handful of others in joining Preston from the FV Emerging Program. And here is Charlotte Horrison on the ball, 17-year-old goalkeeper. Big shoes to fill in the experience stakes. Missing Monfanua in the Preston goal. Lovely from Lamont. Cuts it back. Harrington clips it into the box. Zhao is there at the back post, but it's just past her reach. slid across nicely for Vlamink, who just ran out of real estate, well marshalled by Imani Morlock. Leakopoulos. Well-intentioned switch of play for Murphy, but nipped in the bud by Molly Mae Ramsey. Talevsky. It's been busy early doors in this game. Nice turn from Vlamink. She made the hard putt look very good. Rolling well past Venetia Lim, the Singaporean international, in midfield, but the pass forward, one she wouldn't have minded having again. And Lamont just a little bit too swift for her own good on that occasion. This is nice from Yosefsky. But just a few early season cobweb kind of passes here. Murphy, left-hand side of the penalty area, clips in an inviting cross at the back post. Is Holler! Boroondara open their account, and so too does the American Gabby Holler. A lovely move from Boroondara Eagles. A great cross in from the left-hand side by the youngster Rasheen Murphy, and for the new American striker Gabby Holler, who's being asked to fill the boots of Correa Aquino. That's the perfect way to start a goal 9 minutes into her Boroondara debut. And it's been an even contest so far, but you don't always know what to expect in these opening round encounters, especially given the level of squad turnover. But it seems like what was true in 2023 is true again in 24. Boroondara Eagles, who scored 61 last year, they know where the goals are. And this is a lovely run from Yosefsky, who's always got pace to burn, but that time getting the way was, well, what a moment, what a story, what a day. Even if her side has just conceded the opening goal for Lani Giudice, 15 years of age, making her starting debut for Preston Lions, having first come into the team as a 14-year-old last year. Really highly rated talent. Lani Giudice hails from Bendigo, a former Bendigo City junior, who is another out there today who's come through the NTC program. Johnson just doesn't get the run that she needed from Zhao, but well, by fortune it's worked out pretty well, and the 1-2 is elongated but effective, as on the run is Hayley Johnson, good covering that time by Anna Leakopoulos, 17-year-old, who, stop me if you've heard this before, one of the faces from FV Emerging. Really talented youngster, Anna Leakopoulos. She was signed to a Melbourne Victory scholarship deal back in the 2022-23 season. Not in the Victory setup at the moment, but still highly touted as Zhao swings the cross into the middle. The header from Henderson well wide in the end, but still plenty of signs for Preston that they can get back level in this game, get on the score sheet. As we mentioned after the first goal, it's always hard to predict how the opening round games will go. I mean, Preston have only kept 5 of their players from last season, so it's anyone's guess what it'll look like, but not least because their head-to-head meetings last season were basically the inverse of one another. Round 15 last year, a 5-2, yes, 5-2 win for Boroondara Eagles at BT Connor Reserve. Correa Aquino getting 2 of her 31 for the season. While here at the Veneto Club in the reverse fixture, a 4-1 win for Preston. So rhyme and reason nowhere to be found. It's a big chance bruise here for Preston, and it just flashes over the top. Georgia Henderson. And the captain's armband this season so close to a swift response for the visiting side. With a really big year brewing for Georgia Henderson. Her, well, Preston's sophomore season in the top flight, but Henderson's as well. And it's been unanimously voted by her players as captain for this season. As Vlaming rolls it across to Lamont, the West Australian. Good covering defence this from Morlock. Lamont will do well to find a cross in, and she can only find the outstretched legs of Leokopoulos, who hooks it away. Hola attempting some trickery. Chalevsky. That's an unfortunate touch for Cassie Carmen. Ball was, without her intervention, more than likely going out of play for an Eagles throw, but instead Preston gained some meterage. Great turn from Johnson into the middle, a swing and a miss from Lamont, but the right ideas from Preston. A good nearly link up between 2 of their new players. Harrington looked at well by Venetia Lim. A strong challenge on the AstroTurf from Eli Talevsky. That's a real welcome to NPLW Victoria for Venetia Lim. Hollard tries to lay it down for the runner in midfield. Good turn from Flaming. Morlock has had plenty of the ball, the central defender, early doors, but hasn't been afraid as well to come out of that defensive line to join in the attack, jump into midfield when needed. Boroondara moving it nicely through Rasheen Murphy, who nearly got the beating that time of Lani Giudice. Into the arms of Charlotte Horrison. Lim. Yosefsky. This game has been played with a great energy when you consider the fact that the air temperature here in the east was 29 degrees at 5 p.m. at kickoff. Hasn't impacted the tempo of the game. And if you were late to join us, 1-0 after 17 minutes played. Boroondara's new number 9, Gabby Holler, taking after her predecessor Correa Aquino and scoring in her NPLW Victoria debut. Lamont worked under the ball there. Preston wanted a whistle, didn't materialise. Lovely shimmy and shake from Holler, who's got sights of a second and just didn't get the dip, but really promising flashes again from 23-year-old Gabby Holler. Hails from Ohio. Signed out of the South Alabama Jaguars. The Jaguars. No, Jaguars, where she played 20 times, scoring 12 goals last season. So a strike rate that is not to be sniffed at. She's 1 from 1 so far. So played at Purdue, American University that many will know. And here she is back on the ball again. Holler fakes with the block. And Talevsky heads home for Horrison. Charging forward this time, Ellie Lamont. It's not quite clicking for Preston in some moments in that front three. They've had a few well-intentioned ideas, but either the final execution of the pass just a fraction off, or the runner not there to meet the right idea. Certainly a focus for Dan Foden in this second season to bring a bit more speed, mobility, directness into the attack. Certainly showing that, but if they do want to meet their goal of getting into the finals places, they need to get more goals on the board. Just 32 last season, only Southern United less. Looking to get their first for the year here. Johnson goes down under the challenge, but referee Sergio Teixeira, you can see him pointing straight to the ball, and play goes on, but wasted a little bit in the end by Analia Kopoulos. You could hear the calls from John Kyrgios. Slight frustration. It was only really at the back end, or back third, I guess, of last season that Preston really got a bit more agility into the front third when Caitlin Torpey came in. Charging forward here, Cicely Paraskevas. Nipped in the bud by Giudice very nicely. Before that, they were chopping and changing between the experienced heads of Rachel Sturton, who's going to be pulling on the yellow and black of Heidelberg this season. Looked like a foul throw. Not spotted. John Kyrgios protests the case. And Mel Camilleri, the other striking option last season. So Molly May Ramsey is the player on the charge here and does keep it alive, but the contact, the first touch, always favouring Rasheen Murphy, who was clever and just let it roll into the arms of Mia Mossman, who hasn't had too much to do. Mia Mossman, other than take the restarts, take the goal kicks. Might have been able to hear Dan Foden pointing out that Rasheen Murphy might have got a few touches on that earlier collection from the keeper, and that it should have been a back pass. Lamont finding plenty of the ball early, but once again the switch of play was well in advance of Shao. Carmen has given her something of a bailout. At the risk of repeating myself, the idea, a little slide rule ball for Hayley Johnson, was well and truly on for Ray Zhao. Just cut out by the Boroondara midfield line. Zhao. That looked a better ball for Johnson, but up comes the offside flag. The linesman team today, Aaron McNamara and Nectar Vavoulis. Got Jihao Lu manning the fourth official board. Henderson. Great exchange of pass and threaded through for Lamont, who will be able to latch onto it. Just missed it on the first occasion, but a real chance here. Ellie Lamont, good sliding challenge, a second chance. is blazed away in the end by Henderson, but that's better for Preston Lions. Elliot Lance has stayed down after that sliding challenge from Anna Leakopoulos. It will be a goal kick at the end of all of that. There was a brief moment of hesitation, I think, from all and sundry here at the Veneto Club. But that is the blueprint for Preston today. Gabby Holler operating really nicely with back to goal. As I say, I don't want to be accused of the lazy comparison here, but tall number 9 who plays with the sleeves rolled up from America, who started out in NPLW, does it give you shades of Hannah Keane, the now Western United striker at Alamein back in the day? It was the 2017 season she was here, playing for head coach Sinisa Kahadzic, scoring goals for fun. It was a while until she ended up back in the A-League Women's proper with Western United, but I don't know, I'll just drop that pebble in the water. Here's Zhao. Just got a bit too clever for her own good that time. Ray Zhao, the Chinese attacker, who, well, this is technically her second season in the top flight of Victorian football, but it's almost starting afresh. She signed for FC Bulleen Lions last season, so no stranger to the Veneto club, but in the senior fold, only made 2 sub-appearances. Yosefsky with pace to burn, driving towards goal, driving past Feeks towards the byline, but really well done by Jade Feeks, who, would you believe, Jade Feeks, this is her first appearance in NPLW Victoria since all the way back in the 28th of May 2017. She's a player of some repute, some pedigree. Former Box Hill and South Melbourne player, but took a few years out of the game. Played State League last year with Geelong Rangers, but wants to give football, competitive football, a proper red-hot crack again, and that's how she's managed to wind her way into the Preston Lions squad. It was one of those rare situations, Dan Foden talking on Preston's official club podcast, The Lions Den, with Josh Parrish. It was one of those rare situations where he didn't have to go and scout the player to try and convince her to return. It was Jade Feeks who made the application to return to football and did the ring around, and looks to be a very happy accident at the moment. Part of the reason she maybe stepped out of the top flight is she lives in Ocean Grove, so she's travelling 90 minutes every week to play here as Jade Feeks, and she won't be called into action that time. Yosefsky just ran out of real estate, but never take a backward step when you're playing against Anais Yosefsky. Has to be one of, if not the fastest players in this competition. Another chance here for Lamont, whose influence on the game has grown. Can she get the shooting angle? It's Lamont, but it's just lacking the purchase or conviction to really trouble Mia Mossman, who is going to take what looks to be taking the full-time role as starting Boroondara keeper, replacing the outgoing Diana Bodolico. It's clipped in behind for Johnson. Chested down nicely, but Morlock, strong use of the body. Well done by Jade Feeks. Nearly 7 years out of the top flight, and I was going to say she hasn't missed a trick, but the commentator's curse strikes as Ellen Turner knocks it over for Murphy. A driven in cross is going to be cut out cleanly by Ellie Talevsky. And now Lamont. She's really finding more gaps in behind this back four, and this is her best chance yet. It's Lamont checking inside, onto the left boot. Down she goes. And Mia Mossman got enough of the pill for the liking of Sergio Tercero. Both keeper and striker down in the Boroondara box at the moment, but play continues for quite a brief second. And perhaps just watching that one back on replay, which of course you can do from the comfort of your own home or on the train in the park or wherever you're watching from. You can do it over on the YouTube app. Just scroll back and watch the replay. Just wonder if Ellie Lamont maybe took one too many touches. She got in the beating of Analia Kopoulos. Certainly her pace is going to be a big threat, and Dan Foden's goal was to get more zip into the front third, move the ball faster. Ellie Lamont, even if the finishing touch is still waiting, it's definitely giving that. I'll be hoping, Preston, that she can add some goals, the 24-year-old, to that pace in behind. I feel hopeful that she could be a bit of a surprise packet signing out of NPL Western Australia, where she was with Perth Soccer Club. Yasevsky is in on goal! Boroondara double their money. Another debut goal. Anais Yasevsky this time, no stranger to scoring in NPLW Victoria. But this time in new colours for Boroondara Eagles, and well, she doesn't need much of an invitation. There's Anais Yasevsky. Just Preston caught napping for a brief moment. When you're as lightning quick as the Boroondara winger is, that is all you need. And how quickly a game of football can change. Preston inches away from a levelling goal through Ellie Lamont. And now they find themselves 2 goals down. Zhao got the eyes up, went for the pass instead, but she's got some really good vision, Ray Zhao. Some great ideas in the brain box, but just still dialing in that final ball. Feeks up the line for... Ooh.
How many more times, Fred?
It's a tough one through the back of Molly May Ramsey. Rasheen Murphy the guilty party on that occasion. In a really tough spot here, Preston. They've been right up to their neck in this game from open play. He had a 2-goal deficit to deal with. Certainly enough evidence to suggest they can get back into the game, though. Ramsey, a solid first-time cross, is going to spill at the back stick to Ray Zhao. And now Harrington. Doesn't always fancy herself as a forward runner, Harrington, but managed to gain a bit of ground that time. Feeks. Good cross. Well, it looked to be off the boot, but in the end, catching practice for Mia Mossman with the setting sun at her back. So Boroondara, 2 to the good as we head into the final 10 minutes of the first half. A very entertaining first half here at the Veneto Club. Perhaps one more even than the scoreline might suggest. Gabby Holler and Anais Yasevsky, the scorers on their respective debuts for John Kyrgios' outfit. Press from Ellie Flaming, and perhaps this is the chance that Preston are looking for. Inside it goes for Johnson, but cutting across beautifully, the captain, Ellen Turner. "29-year-old Ellen Turner. Taking charge of the captain's armband for John Kyrgios' side this season. He scored the 2 last year in the top flight. Both of them did come here at the Veneto Club, though. A 7-0 win, a brace and a 7-0 win against Box Hill. Lamont is on the charge once more, that time the cross. It was a poor one. It's going to be the big test for Dan Foden's side. The openings are there for them. It's just exploiting them. It's just that attacking execution that is being found wanting, which you can expect from a side with so many new faces. But Boroondara's attack, which is new look, is clicking nicely as it's flicked across the face of the box. Holler getting a little touch in, and Yasevsky was nearly quick as a flash in for her second goal. Boroondara's third. Well done, though, by the mobile Horison, Paris Skivas. That was clever from Harrington, but a touch from Ellie Vlaming. Well, I said touch, it was more of a lack of one that let her down on that occasion. Of course, if you're a fan of cricket, that Vlaming surname might be a familiar one to you. Ellie's just a Taylor, international cricketer for Australia. So plays for the Melbourne Renegades. Well, that's worked out perfectly for Lamont. Thought she kept it in play. A few players, fans in the grandstand, just trying to make the case to the liner that the whole of the ball hadn't perhaps crossed the line that time. Pressing intensity is just dropped a little bit here from Preston. Perhaps unfair to expect these two sides to maintain the intensity of the previous 37 minutes in this heat. Well, the levers worked out nicely from Venetia Lim. And Carmen is the player on the march. Rasheen Murphy. Entertaining battle all day she's had with Molly May Ramsey.
Open your eyes! It's in the glasses. You want a mind if you like.
Zalewski boots it away, but can only find the head of Ellen Turner. Holler is really impressing so far. It's a good challenge that time around from Molly May Ramsey, whose debut for Preston has been a bit of a quiet one. Bit of an unknown prospect where opponents are concerned. Rasheen Murphy, not a player who a former Bayside midfielder and South Melbourne player would have come up against, but she's proved to be quite a task. He's one of the Preston players who are actually a former Boroondara Eagle. Spent a few years with them in the state leagues. She's a well-travelled player, Molly May Ramsey. Brother Carter is a striker at St Albans Saints Dynamo, the NPL men's competition. Holler. A great turn. Good covering from Feeks. Lamont. Stops and props. Perhaps a bit of prolonged, slower paced play from Preston, the order of the day. Maybe been guilty a few times of moving it perhaps too quickly for their own good. Zhao. Just the 2 goals here at the Veneto Club, but if you are, I'll have set yourself up on the couch for a Super Saturday of opening round NPLW. You're being treated to a goal fest across the grounds. Spoiler alert for those who might be hoping to catch a replay. South Melbourne 4 goals to the good against Bentley Greens, formerly known as Bayside United. And at half-time, out at the home of the Matildas, FV emerging in a 4-2 lead, a 6-goal first half against Calder United. Paraskevas. So, yeah, I know Yasevsky is a fast player, but that one a little bit, asking a little bit too much, I dare say. Interesting to see. I don't know whether it's a permanent or just temporary needs must kind of thing, but I think this movement answers our question. Lamont dropped into fullback to cover Molly May Ramsey for a few moments there. Murphy dances around Ramsey and feeds Holler. He's had the ball in a string, and the favour returned for the on-rushing Rasheen Murphy. Good covering challenge, though, from Molly May Ramsey. Who did, not that you'd know it from position she's playing today at right fullback, but did start her top flight NPL career as a goalkeeper for South Melbourne back in 2017. It's moved to the outfield in the years that have followed. Years that have centred a stint in Scotland as well, with Forfar Farmington in the Women's Premier League. Strong win in the air from Jade Feeks. And Zhao can turn and run. And across to Johnson. It's a nice little ball actually for Henderson, who just lost her footing as the cross came in, and that's a frustrating one for Preston. You can just see behind you the Boroondara bench, all currently standing atop that bench to just get the sun out of their eyes at the moment. It does make those afternoon games, especially still in the early throes of autumn, a tough prospect. So we make our way towards first half stoppage time. We'll just see how many minutes the fourth official, Shihao Lu, adds on to the match. Looks to be an extra 120 seconds or 2 minutes for those who prefer the simpler maths added on. Holla to Turner. Really acute play from the American, knocked away by Giudice. So still time for this Boroondara corner, and perhaps one more chance in either direction, depending on the outcome of this delivery from the 19 cap Singaporean international Venetia Lim. Another new signing from Lion City Sailors. Nicely weighted ball for Horrison, just punches it onto the roof of the net. I don't know if that was the contact that she was looking for, but it did just about enough to get it away from a threat to goal. So a second crack for Venetia Lim. And it's a similar sort of delivery, this time a more commanding punch from Horrison. Paraskevas to swing and a miss, and Zhao picks her pocket. Really clever stuff, and a great pass forward for Ellie Lamont. Oh, but that's well done by Anais Yasevsky. The forward turn defender, Murphy, hurtling forward and checking inside one way then the other. Around Molly May Ramsey, who doubles back in time to deny the cross. So I said at the start of stoppage time we'd have time for this corner plus one more. We're going to have time for at least two more corners. A third and potentially final in the offing here at the feet of Venetia Lim. Options spread at the penalty area. It's allowed to bounce in the middle. A few half-hearted swings. Still chaos in the box. And Boroondara couldn't get clean contact. Neither can the Preston defence, though. That's into the arms of Charlotte Horrison. And that brings us to the half-time whistle. Well, don't let the scoreline fool you. This has been a really even game. Chances are plenty, openings are plenty for both sides, but Boroondara, as they were able to do 61 times last season, although 31 of those were Correa Aquino, they found the finishing touch when it counted. A perfect start for two of their new signings. Gabby Holler, the American, opening the scoring after a lovely cross in on the left-hand side from starting debutante Roisin Murphy. And Preston, they had their chances, they had their forward forays, but time and again the final connection piece, the finishing touch, the last piece of the puzzle was just found wanting. And in that confusion, Boroondara were unerring. They found a second through Anais Yasewski, but you can see there 9 shots to 5. There's been plenty of chances for both teams and plenty of hope, if you're Dan Foden, that you can score goals to get back into the game, and plenty of hope if you're John Kyrgios that they can score enough in the second half to kill the game. But which direction this one heads in, that's what we're going to find out in the second half. It's been a real barn burner in the opening 45, so hope to have your company for the second stanza. But for now, here at the Veneto Club, the halftime score: Boroondara Eagles 2, Preston Lions 0. Welcome back here to the Veneto Club for opening round NPLW Victoria action here in the eastern suburbs, where if you are just joining us, you haven't quite missed out on the goal fest that's happening elsewhere around the grounds in the top flights return for 2024, but you have missed a very entertaining 45 minutes of football. Hotly contested, high quality of football, plenty of tempo, and at the end of all of it, Boroondara with a 2-goal advantage to sit on in this second half, courtesy of debut goals from American Gabby Holler and former Box Hill flyer Anais Josefsky. It's a scoreline that implies a degree of dominance and control for John Kyrgios' side, but that hasn't quite been the case from open play. Preston have shown some really promising flashes. They've been up to their neck in the game. They just haven't been able to supply that killer finishing touch and quite perfect their forward link-ups between their new signings, the likes of Ellie Vlamink, Hayley Johnson, and most of all, Ellie Lamont were frequently and well involved, but just couldn't find the back of the net. Certainly, though, this game is alive, particularly if Preston get one back quickly. Lamont is given one to chase, and chase it down she does. Oh, lovely turn from Ellie Lamont. Turned back into trouble, but has kept a hold of the ball. Harrington. Oh, she went for the nutmeg. Did Ellie Lamont? I don't know if it was necessarily, from this vantage point, at least a foul conceded in doing so, but that's certainly the view of the referee, Sergio Tercero. But you do get the feeling, on the basis of the first half evidence, but also what flashes the opening 90 seconds of the second half have provided, Ellie Lamont is going to be crucial to any potential Preston comeback. Turner lets it run across her body cleverly, but Ellie Mae Ramsey was well placed, and that's clever from the 15-year-old Lani Giudice, starting in the heart of defence. As the foot race is on between Leonakopoulos and Lamont, it's Lamont who wins out, but Leonakopoulos is able to double back and retrieve possession at the second time of asking. And Ellie Lamont is going to be battered and bruised at the back end of this game. She has hit the artificial turf here at the Veneto Club more times than perhaps any other. A super boot from NPLWA, who has one former appearance with Perth Glory, looking to get on the end of this corner, which is nicely shaped. Feeks was the target, but heading away was, well, the player who headed home at that end in the first 45, Gabby Holler. And Ray Zhao, who took the first corner, will hurtle across to the opposite side to take the second. He's already played more senior minutes this season, Ray Zhao, and it's a decent corner, but just a little bit deep. Out of play harmlessly in the end. 2 substitute appearances, a sum total of 4 minutes for Ray Zhao here at the Veneto Club with FC Bullion Lions this season. In the seniors, I should stress. Play regularly in the under-19s, 11 goals in that squad. Senior football, always the goal. one in the middle by Henderson. Just had to track back. Good coverage that time applied by Venetia Lim. Henderson. Well, he's maybe a little bit lucky there, but Ellen Turner a fraction overzealous, just clattering through the back of her midfield marker as Zhao wants to release it quickly, and an instance where the pattern of first half play for Preston continues into the second. A good idea to try and catch the Boroondara backline out. But it was just a bit too hot and heavy. Murphy is going to look to do the same in the opposite direction. It's a really firmly struck cross from the left-hand side, but 17-year-old Charlotte Horrison guides it into the arms. Turner nods it down for Lamont, who wasn't far off. Lim picks the gap for Yasevsky. The Preston defence just hesitated there. Can a good cross be found into the middle? The answer is yes. And it's into the roof of the net that time from Cicely Paraskevas. Would have been a first NPLW Victoria goal for her. Not to be, but a lovely clipped ball, that one, from Anais Yasevsky on the cross. But Venetia Lim to pick her out with the previous pass. Good first time control out of the afternoon air from Ray Zhao. Henderson has lost out to Leakopoulos. And Boroondara working with intent. The cross, a poor one though. Feeks can whisk it away. And it might actually work out for Johnson with Leakopoulos out of position. A real scrap in the middle. Eva Harrington and Venetia Lim coming together, and you could see from this angle that the Preston defender got a fair bit of Venetia Lim's shirt. Eva Harrington, one of a handful of Preston players who hails from Bendigo, as does her defensive partner Lani Jadiche. Speaks to the culture that Preston have got to offer, that they have so many players who are willing to travel an hour plus to training to play for this club. Lamont. And she's moved from Western Australia, and she's won herself a free kick. Zhao looking to catch the keeper off their line, and it required a touch, just diverted away. Or two diverted away, I should say, by Mia Mossman. We saw so little of Ray Zhao for Bulleen last year that weren't really sure what to make of the creative forward/midfielder in this game, but certainly showing a willingness to try things and to create things, as that's another dangerous cross. Mossman had to double fist away. A good turn from Vlaming, driven across the box, surely for Preston. Kicked away, still alive in the middle though. Feeks lays it down to Levski, a big deflection, and eventually Boroondara can clear lines. That was a firmly struck cross by Ellie Vlaming on the right-hand side. And who was the final touch-off? I think Mossman may have just missed it as it came into the box. And oh, that's a firm hip and shoulder from Leakopoulos. You can hear the calls from the stands, be they justified or not, as to whether or not that challenge was worthy of a card from former South Melbourne junior Anna Leakopoulos. Mia Mossman marshals the troops as Zhao preps another set piece, and it's incorrect! Oh, what a first goal in Preston colours for Ray Zhao. The spark they needed to get back into the game arrives from their Chinese import in some style. It took a little touch of the defender on the last line, but we won't be taking that one away from Ray Zhao, who's waited a year here in Victoria for a first proper start in Victorian football. And what a first start it is. This game, which had held its competitive tension from open play, it's finally being reflected in the scoreline. And Dan Foden will feel that that is no less than the visitors deserve. And now we have got a game in our hands. And will we have some subs afoot? Zhao in the groove now, nearly latching on to that exchange of pass between her and the American Hayley Johnson. Talevski goes by unchallenged, so keeps going. Corner ball for Preston. A really good start in the second stanza from them. And just as Boroondara did in the opening 10 minutes of the first half, Preston score in the opening 10 minutes of the second. Zhao stands it up towards the penalty spot, knocked away. Murphy loses out. Zhao, fast feet, flicks it across, and the player who was just on the right shoulder of Ray Zhao, Ellie Vlamink, was a hair offside. But whatever Dan Foden said to his charges at the halftime interval, it's definitely worked, but it can't stop there. They're still 2-1 down. As it stands, Anais Yasevsky's goal the difference. Lamont gives chase. But Maria Patrikas, the 30-year-old who, by my count, is the oldest player out there. Not that 30 is old, that just speaks to how young these two sides both are. Takes the throw. She'll be back under pressure here though. Preston playing with the bit between their teeth at the moment. Morlock. Henderson. Good stuff from the former Modbury Vista player, but that cross just lacking a willing recipient from Ellie Lamont, who has run herself into the artificial turf here. That's not the best kick out from Mossman. Anais Yasevsky, all she can do is watch that one go out into touch. And all Eva Harrington can do is gain a little bit of ground. So a quick run through the substitutes available for both sides. We might do that in a second, because you imagine it's been a hot day here at the Veneto Club. So near the hour mark, both sides will be in need of some refreshments. Boroondara looking the most in requirement at the present moment. The likes of 100 plus caps in top flight football in Hayley Gertz. One of a handful available for them though. Murphy can restore their breathing room as the runners amass in the middle. Holla was there, but Giudice gets boot to ball. Another effort from Murphy, and this one not quite as much of a threat in the penalty area. Sails out for a goal kick. The rest of those bench options for Boroondara, should John Kyrgios choose to use them. Zoe Bennett, Madison Van Doren from Box Hill United, Steph Kelly, Ellie Gaganis, Sophia Galetti, and Emma Summers. Meanwhile, for Preston Lions, Mia Giorgio from Heidelberg United, Chanel Nikolovsky, Amy Adcock, the returning Brianna Gurr and Dakota Tyson, the available reinforcements. Big absentees today as well. That's the big thing to remember for both sides. Both missing arguably one of, if not their star players. Becky Lim, who had a stunning debut top flight season. Well, we've spoken the subs into existence here. And on comes Mia Giorgio in place of Molly Mae Ramsey, whose Preston debut comes to an end. Yeah, Becky Lim picked up an injury in the back half of last season. That might be what's keeping her out of the side again as well. The joint top assist getter from last season, Miri Nishimura, unavailable for Preston too. So that's dropped in nicely towards the box by Ray Zhao. Patricus can only find the midriff of Eva Harrington. So where will Giorgio slot in? Will it be a like-for-like addition to the fullback slot? Looks to be at this point. Giorgio, despite the substitute's energy, can't quite haul down that forward pass. Bit of a weird year for Mia Giorgio last season at Heidelberg. She was in and out of the first choice plans. 13 appearances, 7 starts. Just the one goal, which came against Boroondara Eagles in a 4-2 win for the Burgers. But last time the Burgers played Preston, she was playing in the under-19 squad, so very much a topsy-turvy season, but perhaps the promise of more regular and consistent senior minutes at BT Connor Reserve a lure too good to turn down. Another one of the former NTC products out there today. Cross into the middle at the back post is Lamont. It's off the post and cleared away emphatically by Leakopoulos. Oh, Lamont. That debut Preston goal continues to elude, but it has not been for a lack of trying. Zhao, she's got one goal to her name, looking for a second, instead trying to turn provider as Lamont checks onto the right, rolls it across the box. Here's the chance! Here's the equaliser! Hayley Johnson! The Preston front three is clicking now, and they're back from 2-0 down. A beautifully constructed move from Dan Foden's side. It started with Zhao at the top of the box. Lamont could have gone for the glory herself, but elite vision to find her attacking teammate in Hayley Johnson. And the striker from Wisconsin, who spent last year in Iceland, adds another exciting chapter to her footballing career. A goal on debut for Preston Lions. And this has been some comeback from the visitors. They threatened without breaching the goal in the first 45, but they have blown the house down in the second, and Johnson was bearing down on goal. Harrington was trying to play the role of crumbing forward, and now she's down on the turf. If you have got the chance to have a look at that one again on the replay, which of course you can do on YouTube, but just scrub back on whatever device you're watching this game on. That is a goal worth a second viewing. Really good footy from Preston. And we've had 4 well put together, pleasing the eye goals, and a good game of NPLW to open the season. And that's a sign of the second half in microcosm for Boroondara. A misplaced pass. It's all been a bit askew despite that opening 45 promise. Lamont has an assist. And you can see how desperately she still wants that goal. Will John Kyrgios turn to the bench? There's no one explicitly warming up. Holla, and she had a breathless first 45 minutes in Boroondara's colours, but her influence is faded, and I dare say that's a sign of the way things have travelled in this second half. She had so much service in the opening stanza, the American. Barely been sighted on the ball as Preston continue to build. Vlaming for Johnson, who can she free the feet for a strike? Well, her feet hit the turf, so too did the body. Preston appeal for a penalty, but play continues. And Preston are having it all their own way at the moment, even if they're not getting the decisions. Giorgio, the substitute. Lovely turn from Ellie Vlaming, who gets the eyes up, picks the gap for Johnson. Just pulls the shot. But the Preston fans who have come to the Veneto Club to watch this one are being treated to some really, really enjoyable football from Dan Foden's side in this game. To be fair, both sides have given a very good account, performed well, but the Lions have the momentum. 2 unanswered goals, and Lamont's pressure proving a difficult task for the teenage defender Analia Kopoulos. But yeah, Preston just playing in flow at the moment, and the challenge thrown down to last season's regular season runners-up Boroondara. Cassie Carmen up the line for Rasheen Murphy. Tracking back is Giorgio, and is able to nip in twice at the Boroondara attacker. A half-hearted clearance though. Strong challenge from Ellie Talevski, I should say. Kopoulos on the turf, and we got substitutions here, or is that just Boroondara players heading over to grab a drink? I think the answer might be the latter rather than the former. Maybe that stoppage in play giving a few outfield players from both sides the chance to take the drinks break in the afternoon heat. I think it's Ellie Talevski, rather, down on the turf after what was a very firm challenge. One of those other players from more perennial powerhouse clubs that Dan Foden has plucked from clubs where they're at the top end of town but maybe struggling for the game time that they perhaps deserve. And Talevski, 7 years in the Calder/Western United junior and academy setup. She was, I believe, a Western United train-on as well with that Liberty A-League side, but just couldn't break through in the senior NPLW fold last year. So here she is at Preston. Like me at Giorgio, coming from a more regular top flight outfit to get regular football. And if Dan Foden can realise their potential, they'll have some quality players on their hands. And he certainly looks to have found one in El Lamont, who's going for the chip. Roof of the net. It wasn't far away. Even if she will not go down on the scorers list as it stands, Ellie Lamont is showing us what she's made of, the 24-year-old. Maria Petrikis for Yosefsky. Lim going past the ball and a good interception from Vlaming. Preston just have the numbers at the 50-50s at the moment. Bit of pinball, and eventually Vlaming comes up with the footy. Charging forward is Vlaming, sights a goal, Ellie Vlaming. Not that far away from the 20-year-old talent who had flashes in the first half, but really has grown, and nearly trouble here for Imani Morlock. Carmen, she turned into trouble. It's Preston, unintentional pun there. Preston pressure has been something to behold. As Georgia Henderson has gone into the book, the first player to attract the referee's ire in this half for that challenge on Rasheen Murphy. We are going to get Boroondara substitute here, and well, we said the first card of the day. It hasn't taken too long to find the second. Dan Foden for well, how do we say this diplomatically? Not withholding his thoughts to the referee is going to earn himself a ticket as well. So confirmation that Captain Georgia Henderson has gone into the book too. Zoe Bennett was the player who was on the touchline waiting to come on in the lead up to those substitutions, and indeed I can see just on the bottom left of the screen that she has come on in place of Maria Petrikis. Rasheen Murphy, she was the recipient of that very firm challenge that sent Georgia Henderson into the book. Just to be back into play unscathed. Johnson, the equalising scorer. Interesting first substitution from John Kyrgios, bringing on Zoe Bennett, who signed from the FE Emerging Program alongside Analia Kopoulos. She is no stranger to this place though. Prior to joining the NTC, she was a long-time Bulleen junior. But does speak to the threat that Ellie Lamont has presented on the right-hand side of the attack, that John Kyrgios' first substitution is to change the fullback. Rasheen Murphy tries, she might. Just couldn't make anything of that particular chance. This second half has flown by. Hard to believe we've only got 17 minutes left of the opening game of the season for both these sides, and I'm sure they'd both be hoping to kick it off with a win. But you would dare say, if the full-time whistle sounded now, that Preston would be the happier of the two. Double substitution here for Preston. Ellie Lamont, her race is run, and it was run without leaving anything on the table. She leaves alongside Ellie Tulevsky. The first of those replacements into the front third is Amy Adcock. With the quartet out there today who last season were on the books of Mel Lum's FE Emerging program. Mel Lum, who is now the, I think, senior assistant coach here at Preston, so that maybe explains the players who have come across there. And the other substitute, Chanel Nikolovsky. Only one to keep an eye on here. Spent most of her footballing career, the number 26, trying to chase down Cassie Carmen there. Spring Hills FC. Been there since the under 13-14 age group. Played 7 times in their senior side, who reached the VPL Grand Final. And that's a chance here for Amy Adcock, the substitute, with the instant impact! Welcome back, NPLW Victoria. Preston from 2-0 down, back in the black. And a debut goal in seconds from 18-year-old Amy Adcock has the Preston fans at the Veneto Club grandstand off their feet. Well, what a moment, what a performance in this second half from Preston. What a game we've had. And Boroondara have had the game turned upside down in their face because they find the instant response. Yosefsky into the middle, away by Feeks. It's just a really nice ball knocked forward that just caught the Boroondara backline napping, and Amy Adcock was swift to latch onto it and unerring in the finish, just rounding Mia Mossman and supplying the go-ahead goal for Dan Foden's side. Two Preston players down with cramp at the moment. It's Eva Harrington who's the player in most trouble over on the broadcast side. You can just see her in the corner over there. And this is to be expected in the opening game of the season, let alone when the temperature has been as warm as it has today. Hopefully nothing more serious than a cramp for Eva Harrington. Made 19 appearances on her return to the top flight of Victorian football with Preston last season. She's into year 4 at BT Connor Reserve. Eva Harrington only played for the one other club in the top flight, South Melbourne, where she made her debut alongside now Preston teammate Molly Mae Ramsey, who we mentioned her propensity for playing a variety of positions, was in goal for South that day. Yosefsky tearing down the defence. Tearing down towards the byline, but shown the line by Lani Giudice. A round of applause, a deserved one for the 15-year-old. Towards the final 10 we go. If you ducked out for this second half and are only just returning, you've missed out on a fair bit. Boroondara were 2 goals to the good. Gabby Hollar and Anaïs Yosefsky had them up, but Preston lead 3-2 thanks to this player, Amy Adcock, who wins a corner. Now, that doesn't quite tell the full story. Ray Zhao got Preston back into the game with a stunning free kick. Hayley Johnson drew them level, and then Amy Adcock scored after what couldn't have been any more than a minute or so after coming onto the field. And unfortunately for Eva Harrington, that cramp that she was getting some attention for earlier is the end of her day. Rhiannon Gurr is the player who's come into the defence to replace her. As Preston take the corner short, Vlamink, right-footed cross into the area. Mossman spills it the first time of asking, but is able to just bring it more commandingly into the breadbasket. Adcock. The runner ahead is Nikolovsky, just couldn't be picked out, so a slight reshuffling of the pack off the back of that Harrington substitution. Giudice is going to slot into left fullback, and the substitute Rhiannon Gurr, who's back in Preston colours this year after a year playing VFLW with Carlton, the Blue Baggers, is back playing football in real European football, not to be confused with Australian rules football. Oh, down goes Venetia Lim in the middle. That didn't look particularly nice based off her reaction. Been an energetic presence. Venetia Lim, who's still really clutching at that ribcage area. She'll come off to the side with the physio. Maybe just a wounding incident, perhaps. Anyway, Boroondara, a goal down, will go on with 10 players. Madison Van Doren has made her way into the field as well. Morlock. Oh, a careless pass. Adcock hits the deck, and Zhao is able to bring a bit of control and command to proceedings. Lovely turn from Georgia Henderson, who's got room to work with further afield. Just slides it across for Vlamink, who's been really one of the catalysts to this Preston fight back. Nikolovsky just couldn't wrap her boot around the ball. Venetia Lim is back onto the field. Good to see. Van der Ven back to Mossman. Preston's press. I was able to say it properly that time. He's been unerring. Knocked up the line in the direction of Ellen Turner, who just... It was a tricky forward pass from Cicely Paraskevas. Just haven't been able to offer Boroondara much of an answer so far in this second half. To the raising of stakes, the raising of intensity from Preston. They came quick out of the blocks from the halftime interval, the visitors, and they just haven't really taken the foot off the gas since then. Had a few half chances here and there, Boroondara, in the second half, but not been able to really threaten for Horrison, but they only need the one goal to draw level, and then it's on for young and old. Giudice It's the beating of Yusevsky, a cool head. Just so hard to believe that she's only 15 watching her play. That was serious composure. Unfortunately for her, Amy Adcock further afield couldn't quite show the same. Yusevsky gets the beating of Giudice this time and is bearing down on goal, but I think she was just caught in two minds there. Anais Yusevsky between cross and shot. And the resultant effort was indeed betwixt and between. Just a quick spoiler alert as well before we tick into roundup from around the grounds. It finished at Lakeside Stadium, just elongating it so those hoping to live without spoilers can avoid them. 4-1 to South Melbourne. Bring you a score update from FE Emerging and Calder United shortly. As it's back at the feet of Mia Mossman. 4-2 the full-time score out at FE Emerging. And as it stands here at the Veneto Club, Preston less than 10 minutes away from sealing a thrilling 3-2 comeback win from 2-0 down. Really, the question is whether or not Boroondara have got one last throw at the stumps. Or can Preston seal it? Adcock was a little half committed on the first instance, but has ended up with the ball anyway. Maybe just still coming up to the speed of the game, the player whose goal separates the sides at the moment. And so, the question we were asking is John Kyrgios going to have one last throw at the stumps? The second place side are going to do exactly that with a double substitution. Cicely Paraskevas leaves the field of play, as does Ellen Turner, which interestingly is going to see new American signing Gabby Hollar take the captain's armband. And the referee, Sergio Tesoro, just delaying play to allow the second substitute to come on. Second substitute, who is Steph Kelly. And that'll be a retake because the throw never came back in, or rather, it must have come back in enough to judge it to be a turnover. That's an interesting one. I don't see that too often. Hollar with runners ahead. Here's the substitute Galletti, who entered the fray alongside Steph Kelly. Or just past the reach of Steph Galletti, that one. It's Gurr. Haley Johnson able to combine to clear lines. Not long left now for Preston to see out this game, but they've got a handy set-piece opportunity here for a right-footed in-swinger. Or out-swinger, rather, at the feet of substitute Zoe Bennett. Suspect they'll be looking for the head of Gabby Hollar. Well-shaped ball as well. Morlock was the player who contested. Yusevsky up into the air. Horrison is going to be in trouble here. She loses her footing and gets the free kick in her favour. And Preston supporters and players alike breathe a collective sigh of relief, because if play had been allowed to continue there, that could have been absolute chaos in the box. Good win from Holler. Checks back on to the right foot. Nikolovsky couldn't win it. Galletti slides it for Bennett. Can she find the crossing angle? It's a slide rule pass for Lim, who, well, like a thief in the night, across came Ellie Vlamink, who hit the turf with cramp. Morlock. It's getting towards now or never territory for Boroondara. Vlamink stays down on the turf, and Boroondara keep it rolling. Holler just goes around the injured player. And eventually, Sergio Tercero will draw play to a close. We'll be adding time on in the game. But you can hear, feel, see the desperation, the determination that Boroondara have to, you would imagine, what's left of this game at this point, salvage a point from the fixture that they were willing to play on for so long with an injured Preston player in Ellie Vlamink on the field. I think most of a Boroondara persuasion could understand their hesitancy not to keep it moving until they were told to stop, and those of a Preston persuasion can understandably think in the opposite direction. Neutrals? I'm not so sure. They can form their own view. But there is one very clear view here at the Veneto Club as we tick in to stoppage time. It's heading towards Last Chance Saloon for Boroondara. Or will there be a sealer for Preston? It's still alive in a thrilling opening round encounter to start season 2024 at the Veneto Club. Hooked away by Henderson, who, yeah, it is getting sort of towards that anywhere will do territory. I mean, it's a thin margin, just the one goal, but may well be enough. Holler controls nicely. Galletti, and try as she might, Steph Kelly just couldn't find an opening. How much caution does John Kyrgios' side want to throw into the wind here? Away by Hayley Johnson. One for Nikolovsky to chase. Morlock read it well through the air. Yosevsky managed to keep the ball under a spell when it should really never have been hers, and Carmen brought the charge. Holler looks the most likely. Galletti, the shot blocked strongly by Henderson. Lim now twisting and turning. Holler can't free the feet for a shot, but picks out a beautiful switch. It's Bennett. Last roll of the dice. In it goes. Knocked away by Feeks. Only as far as an outside of the boot effort from Steph Kelly. And charged down by Grieger to deny a corner. And John Kyrgios urging his players into the box for a long throw. A little bit shallow, but Kelly will get another look at the football. And she gave too much of a look to Hayley Johnson. That's a real cheap giveaway in a delicate moment here for Boroondara. I think I've given up hope of a fourth sealer. Could hear the calls to just try and lock it in the corner, but they weren't able to do so. Bennett. How many more chances will Boroondara get? They'll get one here. It's a great cross. Leakopoulos for Horison with the save against their former FV emerging teammate. And that may just be the chance survived for Preston Lions. Leokopoulos up from the back. A towering header, but for Horrison well positioned. Feeks gets it away. The Boroondara bench helping to keep the ball moving. They don't want to waste, they can't waste any time. Holla with back to goal. She certainly hasn't given up the ghost. Galletti. Where will this fall? It's a Boroondara throw. So we are into the final minutes. Holla breaking free. Holla into the body of Charlotte Horrison. It will take as long as legally allowed to release this one. Judice in no hurry to Johnson, who lumps it up the line for Adcock. She's going to meet it as well. Bennett half away. Flaming can, well, just run into the corner here. She doesn't need to do anything else. The onus on Boroondara to win the ball back, and Judice, she's been fantastic today, but that was a bit of a careless turnover. Henderson just clips it half-heartedly into the box. Lim launches it into the air. Preston fans call for the whistle. Zhao controls. Feeks has a brilliant player, a Boroondara player running towards her. And a time-buying clearance for Preston. A check of the watch from Sergio Trocero. This is the last attack. No, it's all over. And what a start to the season here at the Veneto Club. At 45 minutes played, Preston were 2-0 down, but they were not out. They came out of the half-time interval with real zeal, real energy, and they've pulled off a thrilling 3-2 turnaround here at the Veneto Club. It started with a stunning free kick on a tight angle from Ray Zhao. An angle where she had really no right to find the back of the net, but find the back of the net she did. And from there, Preston scarcely looked back. It was a second equalising goal set up by Ellie Lamont, tucked away by fellow new Preston player, the American Haley Johnson. And then the finishing touch was supplied no more than 60 seconds after coming off the bench for substitute Amy Adcock. Prompted an all-in celebration, and the goal that proved decisive in a thrilling start to NPLW Victoria action for both of these sides that sees Preston come away with the 3 points. Boroondara had their chances to make it 3-3. That header laid on for Anna Leokopoulos, saved by Charlotte Horrison, one that they'll be left to ponder. But the side who had such an incredible start to their debut campaign in the top flight of Victorian football under John Kyrgios come away with nothing to show for it in the opening game of the season. But it wasn't for lack of effort. Preston come away with the points, and the real winner, just as much as the Lions, are those who have been watching at home. Thank you for your company for all the NPLW Victoria action today. I've been Lockie Flanagan in the commentary booth for you. We're with you for a cracking game and a cracking comeback. A real welcome back to NPLW Victoria. The full-time score here in the eastern suburbs: Boroondara Eagles 2, Preston Lions 3.
we'll sing it twice!
We sing it once, we'll sing it twice!
Smashing forward, what will not?
Smashing forward, what will not? La 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 la.
Right for me to unplug it?